It has a very, very thick rectilinear aesthetic, an underlying thing, and I couldn't see how to add to it without sticking with that. Well, it certainly when we finally got to the thing of using the fact that this is all laid out on 30/60 and right angle, and that the house is at a 60-degree angle to this street, and that if we came out parallel to the street out of the house as it was, that we could make the addition and the continuation of the end study guest thing here anchors the house in that original direction. And I really puzzled over these three houses a great deal. It's hard to realize now, but this was absolutely open field. That was wooded, but this was completely open field through here. And it was an ordinary, a usual suburban lot situation, except for the fact that I was able to make the lot sizes quite a little bit larger than the usual suburban lot. Oh, it's an old house. Yes. Yeah. And that just ruled out my building a place for myself. I used up the money that I would have. I had some land that I hoped to build a place for myself. But so you got the house, yeah. It was built on the site, yeah.
I think he took the challenge.
Yeah, right.
Well, and eventually they relocated the creek around your house too.
Right, the creek ran between the guest house and the main house.
Right.
Oh, I was there
Then
when
they overbuilt, if this is true, this
and
is the story
sometimes
I've heard.
through.
Right, it went through the two, right. And
Well,
we've had
I was
many
there.
waterfalls.
It doesn't do
no,
anymore?
Now it does.
I recall when the water went through the lower rooms, yeah.
It's done that once, but because my washing machine.
Yeah, well, cheer up. I mean, the creek has been relocated. So.
I remember being on that deck when the water went under, and it really was neat.
Dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It was,
we love them. We found yeah.
Almost every house in Rush Creek was a real challenge to design. By and large, I had to adopt a method of thinking through what would be good and desirable without at first taking cost into consideration, because I use a lot of things in these houses that you don't use in small houses. A lot of spatial devices and one thing or another. Well, this was perhaps the most challenging, because the McGrails here were very eager supporters of Rush Creek Village, and really worked to hang on and get a house here. Well, in order to do that, I designed a house that is the way you see it now, but what we built was only the first floor, and it was several years before it was put together in this way, and it had to be extremely economical in its spatial layout, and had to be able to be added on. And unfortunately, our first roofer in Rush Creek Village was a scoundrel, and not only did his roof leak, but he left town. He deserted his wife and was gone. And the McGrails in that very small house with several boys put up with living there until they could get the house that's the way you see it now. And the two-story thing is makes a kind of focal point for driving up here, whereas with the other houses I wanted to keep them out of the I wanted to make them low, subdued, not fighting with each other at all in the terrain, because I was trying to maintain the natural terrain here, which gets worked around when you put houses on it. Well, this house was, I think that probably was the largest budget house we had in the early part of Rush Creek, and that house doesn't go with the terrain so much as it cuts across it, and it's pointed out into the ravine. Julie Hoffman, psychiatrist, said repeatedly, just work it out with his wife and everything would be fine, you know. Well, that made me extremely nervous, and and he no sooner got in the house than he couldn't stand it, because it was all put together as one thing. And we had to add this wing out here to get the children out of his way. I mean, he would fall asleep during our conferences and said, "Oh, just whatever she wants," you know. Well, it's funny, he didn't know what his needs were until he got into it.
What's the white portion sticking out of the roof on the wing? Is that a fireplace, Jim?
Somebody's painted the block white.
But it's a fireplace?
Walk around.
Oh, it is a fireplace.
Oh, it's got a big vent.
With a metal piece on top.
Well, that's they put that on to,
They put a furnace out there. Is that a vent for the person?
I don't know.
We can go into their yard.
We
too.
can go in the yard and walk around the side there and see the bath.
Okay.
I love that view.
Okay. I think maybe it's better to go around this way than go around that way. I think that gets pretty close to the ravine.
The rocks on the flat roof, was that so it was more aesthetically pleasing when it was low? Because I know some of the flat roofs have rocks, some don't.
Well, actually, it's a fairly good thing to do, but some do and some don't. Actually, because this is the entrance, and you get up on the second floor on a balcony-like thing there, going into the front door, which is way down, and you pass by the roof of this. I experimented with having a wood trellis thing over the top of the roof on which you could grow vines, so that you look down on, it wouldn't be all vines, but you look down on something more pleasant than that big gravel area. But they never did that, and then they, I guess that looks to me as though they've replaced the roof relatively recently and put the gravel on it, and at that time they took off that trellis.
I think the stones on top of that material was to break the force of the rain on the material that actually sealed the roof. Isn't
Well, the stone has it will do that, and it has a few other advantages. But now the materials for flat roof are very different than the built-up roof of when we first did Rush Creek Village, and actually those are the materials to use. You know. The so-called one-piece roofing materials are preferable, except that over on the house over here, where they used a rubber material, they found that the raccoons loved it and got up there and played on it and chewed it and made little balls out of it. And
Well, I'm not going to tell you we have raccoons.
the raccoons haven't found it.
No,
That's right,
no,
not
thank
yet.
goodness.
Not yet.
Lots of people have rubber roofs.
Does it come in big sheets?
Rolls.
Yeah, rolls, and they're fairly wide, and then they heat seal them. Like the old vulcanization kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're. Oh yeah.
Well,
Been in it?
I might have had the camera off when we were at the Robinsons' house, but they had a very low budget. And they were only allowed to have, oh, I'm sorry. Well,
Isn't it great? Have you been in it?
no, I haven't
Oh,
been in it.
that's their master bedroom. You can see the doors up there. They slide shut and then they can open them. And it's on the second level. And this is their master bath. And then those are children's bedrooms. But it's just, it's wonderful. And it's, when you're in there, you can't necessarily see out these windows because they're so high up. It's just really interesting. We had an annual meeting there one year.
Oh, well, that's not all that hard to do.
Yeah,
But are you going to
I think quarter the way to
do
go.
it in your
Three-quarters
house
done.
digging up there?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love the chains for the water balls. Rainfall.
Well, they're notched together, and
It's a Japanese idea.
Really? We have a
yeah.
little
See,
problem with water.
this is a
in
balcony
different places.
house in which the master bedroom was a balcony into the upper part of a two-story living room, and then they had. I don't know, 3 children, and he wanted an office at home and so forth. I think it wound up with 5 bedrooms. And this is all kitchen and dining and living room, and that opens that way onto a terrace overlooking the creek. And this low wall is like a low garden wall, and there are all kinds of bookcases and cabinets and one thing or another, and the light and everything comes in through from above, but it's open to the ground with glass on the other side.
Those power lines are unfortunate, aren't they? Can't do anything
Well,
about that?
they've got the main power going through right up there, and
And all the other.
then all the others. Yeah. Well, there's no. I don't recall at this time why.
Was that chain put on when you were here, or did they
The
do it
what?
later? That chain to direct the water down, I guess.
No, that's a good idea. No, I didn't do that. That's a very good idea. It does direct the water down, and then you eliminate a lot of the wind-blown effect. You know what I mean? Because the water coming out of that, if it's a still day, will drop right straight down. But on a windy day, it'll blow all around.
I guess it doesn't hit the ground as hard. Then there's a little heavy thing there at the base of the
Well,
chain.
I think that's just I think that's
Weight.
more or less a weight to hold the chain.
The water gets directed between 3 large rocks
Yeah.
and not splat the
Yeah.
flower garden. I never heard of it either until the other day.
You can
That,
see,
that's the master
uh,
bedroom.
continues out to be a sun deck for the master bedroom at the second floor, up in a kind of elevated open space.
Rick sketched out the design of the house.
Yeah.
This is the point where we have an inside-outside balcony.
Well, it must be this.
Get some shadows.
It's kind of well,
The master bedroom overlooks this area. Down here is the living area. Squeeze it down. There's the creek. What I was saying about the Robinsons' house is that it was built for $19,500 because the money that was going to be used for the house, an inheritance from Mr. Robinson's family, or from the original owner's family, did not come through, and so they need to drastically cut the budget. So his fee, the construction cost, and the purchase of land was all for $19,500, and they thought it was $1959.
into these two houses, and we'll do that at another time. But you can see
Circle house and
that the
McGrail
natural
house.
slope comes up and keeps piling up and higher here, and then it falls away again, and I just want to put a house up on that highest slope, and it worked out with the Coopers that I could do what we did do and keep the natural slope as kind of an architectural part of the house. Doesn't look like that now, but and this roof line is identical with the roof line of the other house down there, which really helps to make this continue. The two make a work together as a continuation of one thing.
What do you mean it doesn't look like that now?
Well,
It
was the idea was to have a shaped a berm here that went right up to the house. That was a part of the that the earth was a part of the architecture of the house. Well, Joe is such an agriculturalist that.
Well, is that like
So it got built up
that
higher.
one bedroom at Kentuck Knob that we saw last year in Pennsylvania? Because
Yeah.
that one bedroom at the end.
Yeah, that went into the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But we'll come.
So that hill's a lot higher then, huh, than it was. Is that what you're saying? That he added on to that? Is that what you're saying?
No. It's just that the earth shaping has lost its form. The form was to be tied in with the architecture.
You can see down there how the slopes up, and Joe, through putting wood chips here through the years, has
Has
just
just
built
built
this
it
out
up.
6 or 8 feet.
Yeah.
It would have been like that, huh?
Yeah.
So it would, the berm would have been closer to the house in effect.
Well, it was meant to use the slope of the berm with a rectangular corner and go up to a flat level that was a form that was part of the architecture of the house, but it was in earth. Yeah.
So he really has, it's not so much that the top of the berm is higher, as that he's pulled it all out this way.
Well,
to
it's
create a
that.
flat area.
Yeah. It's lost that. I'm not real upset about it, to tell you the truth. But we'll come back to these houses, and they should be considered together on another.
One of the things I like about this one is that you've used the Taliesin, or the shining brow concept. This is not at the highest point it could be.
No.
It's at the brow of the hill.
Right, it's in under, and it keeps going up. And if you people or anybody saw this land originally, where it was open, and this was open, And over on the, then it was wooded across there. It was hard to get through where the road goes through there. But you would sort of think that it was level. I mean, see, before there were houses here. The way the houses are designed and the contours have been held to makes you see what the contours really are, and we don't lose the, with the architecture we don't lose the contours. A conventional house would bulldoze this, get it level to put the house on it, and you would lose the contours. Well, you can everywhere see, you can see the contour coming up from Evergreen Circle down there, and coming up to this high thing. Well, this is going down that direction too, and it did fall away before it got to the McGrail's house here. So this is kind of just the top of not really a knob, but to put a house on top of that in this neighborhood would be sort of objectionable. I mean, it would just stick out over and above anything. And fortunately, it worked. This concept worked beautifully with what the Coopers wanted. Now, someone else there might not have been able to hack it, you know. That has a full basement in below it, which is all a craft workshop area that has some light wells down into that basement from the south side. And the south side over there is very largely glass, and it has a passive solar gain. And in the house, moving around the house, there is absolutely no sense of the street, the traffic. You get an angle, you see all of this up there, so the house we're out someplace all by itself.
What year was that, Ted, that you did this one?
I don't know.
In the 50s again?
Perhaps around, let's see, did you say you're 59?
59.
Well,
early to mid 60s.
Early 60s, something. I don't know. I'm not very good at that.
Predating most of the passive solar movement.
I'm sorry?
It predates the passive solar movement.
Oh, yes, very
by
much.
A long time,
No, I was very, very aware of, and of course, if I were really trying to make it passive solar, I just got the solar gain. But I'm very conscious in all of these houses what the orientation is and all of that. But other things could have been done to improve that as a passive solar. But there are because they're facing south, and and of course it comes in on a section of tiled floor there, and so there's a little bit of a heat sink.
Ted, you were saying that the McGrail house terminated
McGrail.
this view. These trees weren't here at that point then?
Nothing. Those locusts, again, were just little switches in the weed-covered field. This has all been planted, but the locusts, which are still bare, came up volunteer out of the field, just like in the baker's house. Well, there was up in here along the ravine was shagbark hickory. And,
beautiful dogwoods.
What?
Some dogwood.
Oh, some dogwood. But a lot of that had been rooted out. This was an agricultural field for a long, long time. It was a part of Miss Robinson, who had that old house, nice Victorian house up on the corner there. And this was her, and the school land was part of the Robinson farm, and so was this, so was the valley. And there was a subdivision that was, I think, the second subdivision of Worthington after the original subdivision that was Morning Street, Evening Street, North and South Streets. And that runs out from that and runs along here. And well, that really comes right up to the line of the power lines there. But the streets that served that were on the other side there. And it was only at this one point Well, we did buy. No, we didn't either. Up in another place we bought on the back side of where locusts and stuff that just grew up and closed out the.
My lot has got a lot of ash on it, and probably it must be more than 50 years old. I don't know. They're awfully big trees.
They probably are.
They were there as far as you can remember.
Well, that lot was the worst lot I encountered to try to get into it and figure out what it was and where it was and all of that. And on top of that, it was climax for poison ivy.
Yeah. When I moved in, I had no idea what the end of the lot looked like. It was years before I got back there.
Yeah.
It was so thick with brush. But the ash trees on it look like they've been there a long time.
I'll bet they have been. Yeah, they don't grow very fast. Well, this is the
Bruce Johnson.
The Cooper's house was really designed for passive solar gain, and part of it is cut out of the natural slope, and then using all of the earth that was excavated for the house to make a big circular earthworks here that gives a bulwark between the Johnsons and the Coopers and gives some degree of privacy separation. And that has worked very well. It's really a sunken court in there that that they have so much glass on this side that the earthworks there allows them to just visually go right over the top and up in here. I think that this lot and your lot were the most difficult for me to find my way around in the native state. It's very hard to find a place for the house in there, and it was so overgrown, and you'd lose yourself in that. I had a rough contour map and pushed the house up to the edge of the brink of the slope, but it's down in. It isn't. It doesn't make use of a high level of the slope, and the original owner wanted to have a tennis court, and that meant that we had to have all of this land up here, and that was originally bulldozed for a tennis court, but really fortunately he never put it in, and then the shooters after a time re-bulldozed it and re-naturalized it so that there wasn't that big flat plain in there. I think it was all right for him to want a tennis court, but I don't think it would be with the wire back fences. It would be very interesting in there, and
it would be right here.
It would be through here. You can see it's more or less level.
Yeah, I see.
And this gives around the other side you get more of a feeling of the natural terrain. There's a little side ravine that comes down on the other side here, and the main ravine here. And the house was designed to take advantage of both of those. And that up the side ravine, you can see the McGrail's house to good advantage. I don't know, those red buds may be native at the McGrail's.
What about the red buds?
They may be native. They may have been volunteers. What?
You're not very well liked.
No. Yeah.
Beautiful site, house, great.
Well, that's one of the things that happens if you really make it work in a very difficult site. I mean, a very difficult site can force an interesting orientation. It ain't easy, and sometimes it doesn't work.
They both have the same basic plan orientation.
Well, yes, they are parallel in both directions. That's right. They relate to each other. They're not skewed another way. Now, I'll go into another thing, I guess, not here, but at some later date when we get down into that section down there, that as the upper Rush Creek in that open area is oriented on, the various houses are oriented as if there were a grid of 30, 60 right triangles with right angles, with 60 degree, 120 degree, the whole thing up there. And that allowed for a free placement of the houses up there and still keep them in relationship to each other. That wouldn't work down here. And this whole area down through here has all kinds of variations of what I call the square turned on the diagonal. If you put a square, let's say square with the cardinal points, with the compass points, and then turn it 45 degrees, everything over in there is a variant and a play, both in siding and in the houses themselves, making use of that as a design element. And these houses are outriggers of that.
I want to ask about that walkway there. Did you put that in wooden squares?
No, Joe did that.
Where you can buy those squares like that?
I have no idea. I've never seen them.
Yeah, they're nice, aren't they?
Yeah, I like it.
They might very likely be available at a.
We could build them for you.
Yeah.
And if you want, I think we can walk around the other side of the Alexanders here.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll go down in here.
What's going on here? Are they adding on?
Yes. Yes.
That's right, right. I think we do it from
Actually,
down
it's
there.
There's fence here, but if you come back around beyond the reeds and
Yeah, okay, we'll try that.
Yeah, there's a
well,
great
again, this is Bruce and Julie's house is very good. I could spend as much time as we have this afternoon on one or two houses. It isn't entirely, this is really a smattering, but they had to have a relatively small, economical of space, economical of cost house. And then as their situation changed, we came back and added the carport, added an extension out on the other side, and so forth. But I think that it was a very happy extension. Sometimes, as I got into Rush Creek further, originally I was so really frozen with having to make interesting architecture on very low budgets. And then it didn't take very long. I mean, the people would reach like as far as they could reach or further. And then it wasn't very long before their situation had improved with the economy and their increasing age and responsibility in their jobs and one thing or another. And they were coming back for extensions to the house. So then I realized that I had to have a very good idea, as good an idea as possible to allow for the extensions and even to affect the original design in terms of allowing for the extensions that, but not every house can be happily extended, but this house, I think it's been very happy and a real improvement. Well, we will go around down this way. I think, yeah, I think if we get maybe as many of you know, this house, the living part of this house, is oriented out that way. And the whole end is open in glass, and this is just turning a corner of that open in glass. And but also needs that to be quite private. And I know the shooters felt relatively little need to shield the glass for privacy. And we did work out for that house originally with the rotors, where spring-loaded roller blinds were mounted below the windowsill and were then mounted to wood on the end, and you pull the wood up and put it in different positions up between, so that they could bring it up 2 or 3 different positions there, both to screen out the sun and to screen out the for privacy, or in the or just simply wanting to have the room be more cozy at night. Of getting approval for our layout of Rush Creek Village, there was a fair amount of objection to not extending Foster right straight through here. And many of the things that delayed us a great deal and that I fought for, it would be ridiculous to try to get Foster Avenue to come through here. You know, as a matter of fact, the fact that these ravines delimited the area up in here that couldn't, and that there couldn't easily be through traffic here. But they had a whole thing about how there was almost no north-south connections in Worthington, from Indianola over to, well, almost High Street, but the first street over here has sort of a connection.
Morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Morning in Hartford.
Yeah, right, yeah.
From Morning to Indianola.
At any rate, then I came up with the thing of having a public footpath that actually, this is a right-of-way, not a deeded. It's, I don't know, probably partly, but it's an easement on your property and on both of them, or
I'm just on there.
Oh, just on that. Well, that's how it worked out at the time. I mean, and in regards to the siting of the houses and so forth.
So did you put in that drainage then?
Well, we had to do that. But this also allows school children to get through, and then there's another one up. There's another footpath for school children. But there were a few people who were just not going to buy this.
But you used a pigmented block, isn't it?
Maybe. We used it on a few houses. We had a kind of an energetic salesman from another company than Wellnut's Block. Wellnut's Block, which we used as gray block, was superior to any of the block that other companies made. And they were not in the least bit interested in doing a pigmented block. However, another company, seeing that we were using a lot of block architecturally here and only gray block, and I indicated that we would be very happy to be able to use colored block. It cost a little more than the gray block, but some people wanted to use it, you know. And so, I don't know, I guess we might have 3 houses that have that colored block.
The Weiss's house has it.
The what? Yes, the Weiss, yes, right, yes.
Don't I notice
We have it.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, this, and and that, and the Papinskis. That must be it.
Do they still make it?
What? No, not that I know of. I haven't been in touch with any of them for a long time. But they wanted us to use their gray block if they did that. Well, we said yes, but we knew that they didn't make as good gray block as Walnuts. Well, the thing was that when they made it, it comes up all of their machinery with the color. And they gave that up right away. And however, there's again a movement on the part of ordinary block companies. All over, there's over where I am, there are some block companies that are starting to make
Technology's probably changed.
Yes, yeah. Well, if they're in the business of doing it, then they can deal with the problems that are associated with it. But this only lasted for a short time, and we were very, very glad to be able to use it. You know, but also I designed for the grayness of the gray block. You know, I mean that's an aesthetic element in the houses that use it.
What made the gray block so much better?
Well, as Walnut said, they had a secret. They put cement in it.
It's okay to go inside our house.
Oh, thank you. Good. Well, this is a good place to look at the Reeves, and then we can go around over here and look back at the Johnson.
We can also go in the Reeves house.
Whose garden is this?
Ours.
Who's this?
Ours.
Oh, this one, right here. Johnson. Judy?
Bruce always has a beautiful garden.
Julie.
Julie does most
Julie
of
has a
it?
beautiful garden.
Well, she employs your labor, doesn't she? Yeah. This house has been added to the end down there was an open balcony that had a master bedroom put onto it. That was by the second owner. The house had unusual requirements, unusual program for a couple who had no children and didn't expect to, and there was even it was even planned to have an indoor swimming pool, but that never materialized. And then they added this carport out here, and now Forrest Evans, who worked with me off and on for many years and did much of the drafting on the houses in Rush Creek Village at the time that he did work for me, has designed a very nice pavilion to go out behind the back of the carport here and look into this ravine. Well, maybe we could. I should point out that I really should have pointed it out earlier, because I was constantly experimenting with what would be a good window and door system for the houses that would do the various kinds of things that needed to be done, and at the same time was economical. And my first stab at being economical was up on the house that right there at the corner of McCoy.
Robinson House?
Robinson's house, yeah. And that was to pair two bigger structural timbers, 2x, and have fixed glass in a wide spacing and a hinged plywood panel in the narrow between the two structural things. And of course that is later was used in this house. I've used it at different times where it was reasonable. Then in a house like the Johnsons here, well, we can see it from over on the other side here. Using a good quality window, like the Pella window that we used there, you could, economically, it was out of range to use a whole ribbon row of them. So I used again a 4-foot section of fixed glass, 1 2-foot section of a Pella window, fixed glass, and so forth. But I had to work out, the pattern had to work out for how interior partitions needed to come into that and one thing or another. But that was fairly satisfactory. And I made different stabs at different times to think of ways to, the window cost was high, and wanting to have continuous areas of glass and that had to be ventilated someplace along the line, led to that. Now, in the Reeves house over here, and in Joy Rubin's house, it worked to use a kind of a 2x4 cage in vertical and horizontal. Sometimes that was 2 feet square all the way over in a cage like in Joy's house. And in here, I think it's 2 feet and 4 feet wide. And into a few of those panels where opening sash were set, and the rest is all fixed glass. No grid instead of glass, and painted in.
Now, Ted, in some places, stucco is used as a vertical house down here.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's used in a lot of
Carolina's
different ways,
Facebook.
and it's a very good material. There aren't a lot of places in the United States where you can rely on stucco. And it just happens that an Austrian family came into Columbus some years ago and did first-rate stucco. So Columbus is a very good place to use stucco. Of course, there's a great deal of it used in Austria and in other parts of Europe. But what?
What's the name of the family?
Oh, don't ask me too fast.
Austrian.
It went for several generations. I don't exactly know what the present generation is doing. They may not want to do that kind of work. Well, of course, the tower over there is almost entirely stucco, but the stucco there covers up both base concrete block, where you go into the ground and come up to a bearing level of the floor, and also it covers the wood framing system to make it continuous. I mean, there's no outside expression of those different areas of structure. Here, this house sited along the crest of the ravine is facing north. So we wanted to get that view into the main living space. But I brought the roof down low, and I brought a parapet up to a reasonable height, and then stretched out the glass just lengthwise all the way across the living room, so that it puts together in the living room this view as like a Japanese screen or something like that, but it doesn't expose it overly much to the north, and it gets the view, but it isn't all glass to the view. It also has high glass on its main southern exposure, which happens to be a kind of dining L off of that living room facing south. Considerations that sometimes flat is appropriate and sometimes pitch is appropriate. I can't tell you the exact reason at this remote field out here too. And because the street came in a turnaround here, I extended a privacy garden wall out from the living room, because that would be the best way to get outside with a patio terrace or something to look into the ravine. And a door opens off of the living room, and this wall is a privacy extension. And I was always interested in this kind of architectural grill work, of which you can't do a whole hell of a lot, but in this house, in the Sui's house, and in the house that the Gigantes built over here, there is a little bit of this architectural decorative use of block.
You can actually get the
And it's not anything where you're going to walk out, so...
Cats love it.
The cats love, they go around the edges. Yeah. At least in the future, when there are tours in Rush Creek Village, that people should be willing and ready to take off their shoes and hold them in their hands as they go through the interiors where people allow them to go in. It's very destructive for a lot of people.
Well, and that's probably no problem.
Yeah.
We don't mind doing that.
You have a 4 by, well, you can see it now. You can see it right here. The supports are 4 feet on center.
Okay.
And then the divisions of that are 2 feet on center, running horizontally. And then on the corners, usually, that's a free corner in which the glass is mitered. But we can set opening sash into these openings according to where we want them. Framing system. This is a whole system of doing it. And the plywood panels go in as a blank thing. There isn't any, in this house, there isn't any wood siding as such, you know. Hi. Nice of you to let us go through. Yeah.
Fine, but you have to take your shoes off.
Yeah, no, that's what I asked for.
No, don't take your shoes off. No. This is a very organic house. We'll increase it that way.
Reeves' house. Fireplace. I don't have a wide angle lens. Outside. A little human scale.
Isn't that great?
No, that's the ostrich. Does your fireplace include
Which kind are they? Huh? Osmo, those are Osmo.
They're very orderly. We don't have kids in our house. You can't call it.
Whatever system of fenestration, the way the windows and the doors are handled, that goes all the way through in a house. And there are different systems of fenestration in the different houses, but they are worked out in detail in each case to work for that system. And you can see here this kind of 4 foot wide, 2 foot high grid cage is then continued and carried through as a clear story all the way around, and then it goes back down in a corner there, just like the glass box here. It emphasizes that the glass box is of this whole size, and these other things happen in it. And then these are just glass panes in the masonry fixed. But the same thing is true at the end in the bedrooms. That means that the house has to be very carefully worked out by me in a vertical grid of how the block stacks up, how the other materials go together in one thing or another. It ain't easy.
With the fireplace, is there a special finish on the brick, the vertical brick? Is there a special?
On the fireplace lining?
No, this front stuff right here. This front.
Oh.
Is there a special?
No, there's no special finish on that. Those are concrete brick that are on those are on a welded steel angle iron frame, if that's what you're asking. You may not have been asking that. That goes back into the structure, and in some cases that's a very nice thing to do, rather than having the hearth built into the floor. Actually, if the hearth is flush with the floor, there has to be a very special, almost as special a construction as that, because you can't just put it on the way the floor is framed. This allows the floor to be framed right straight through, and by lifting that and making it on a cantilevered welded steel frame, it raises the hearth. But in a room this size, it's kind of nice to bring that up to a level above the floor level. It's different in different houses.
To enclose the fireplace would be Frank Lloyd Wright, I take it.
Well, it's a spatial thing. What do you mean by enclose it?
The glass.
Oh, well, people do that, sometimes it almost seems to be necessary, but actually, in the old shooter's house over there has the most extraordinary fireplace.
Except
It's
for
almost
ours,
out of the room. Yeah.
Except for ours.
Yes, right.
Which is this design, but in brick, but very large.
Yeah, right.
And
all cantilevered.
And and we feel no need to ever enclose it, because you walk through a hall, we get sideways heat, heat, front heat, and no problems.
Well, what makes a fire now? One of the reasons that people, there's one of the reasons that people enclose fireplaces is they don't draw properly. A fireplace is not this, what you see. A fireplace is up here. And the way that is constructed is the way the fireplace draws. And that's the thing over in the house the shooters had. this is extremely high, and the hood doesn't stick out very far, and the back is in and comes up, so that it's very narrow, but there is one hell of a throat and a smoke chimney up in here that is just keeping the smoke out of the room. As a matter of fact, the Roters were very, very suspicious of that and asked me over and over again about it. And the first time they built a fire in it after they moved into the house, they phoned me over in Pennsylvania. They said, the fire is a total failure. The fireplace is a total failure. They said, we can't get a wisp of a smell of smoke in there.
We had our house, our living room painted for the first time 2 years ago. In other words, it was 23 years with a beige paint, no sign of any smoke.
Oh, what's that, Judy?
Our white living room has only been painted once, and that was 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
There was not enough smoke.
Yeah,
just
but you
coming out.
needed to, I see, that's what I
23 years without painting.
yeah. Yeah, you see, this has to, the best thing is for this back to slope up. Yeah, you can put a damper is a handy thing to have, but you need this has to slope up, and then beyond the damper is quite a shelf in there, and the chimney flue goes up off of that shelf back there, not out here. And then this, whatever this is here, this has to slope up to the damper. And you can't use slopes any steeper than a 60-degree slope. These are much less than that. But when you get that, what happens is that a chimney flue, really has a two-way draft thing. There's a downdraft and an updraft. And so when you start the first fire of the year, you take crumple up newspaper and put it up through there and get an updraft started, a heat thing, and then the downdraft comes down the back, hits that shelf, which is best curved like this. Then the damper's back thing goes up this way, and that makes the air comes down and starts coming back up, and the heat is carrying it up, and both of them are working together. And if that's built right, there won't be any.
They have this nice door, obviously.
I'm sorry, they must have been, yeah.
In our house, we don't get smoke in the house when we have a fire, but after we've had a fire for a week afterwards, there's a
You
real
can smell it?
smell.
Well, that might be, I don't know.
And we're wondering if maybe,
It might be the residue in the fireplace, the wood in the fireplace itself. Might be.
When did you have your chimney cleaned?
we usually have it cleaned every year. Yes. That we're wondering if maybe the brick that's on the exterior of the chimney is letting moisture in. Maybe we need to water seal that.
Well, that's possible, of course. I can't tell you. It's always possible, and a block needs to be. Thompson's water seal is one of the best materials that the exterior block needs that, and the chimney block that goes up above the roof can develop more problems than anything. And when people try to cover that with a cementitious material, that's a problem. Well, shall we move? And
which way are you going?
Bob, we're just
oh, you
around.
can see the rest of the house.
Okay, swell.
Oh yeah, the whole house is open.
Let me. Okay.
It's very generous.
For the original owners, this was where they.
Yes.
it
Can be mysterious, yeah.
for 2.5 years, just completely. So we ripped it off. So we had to
Excuse
rip
me,
it
I'm
off.
going to close that.
Polly Popinski told me that her ivy's dying for some reason. And she called the extension agent down at the university and they
Come downstairs.
Okay.
No. That's gonna be the
Right.
door.
Are you gonna take out the, was it a stereo cabinet there?
Yes, and it's gonna go all the way down to the ground. And then it's going to, that's gonna be a glass, complete glass door, like the other door on the right, and you go out that way. And then you walk up a couple, 4 stairs into it.
Well, the skylight. Again, the 2x4, 2 feet by 4 foot module that he used. Rotisserie.
It, you know, but that was really nice.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that's a real experience of the house rather than going through on a tour.
Oh, yeah.
A real experience.
They have a wonderful chef from Pittsburgh that caters there. Just
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
All the wine you can drink, all the alcohol.
Yeah.
They use some really nice,
Yeah.
nice people.
Several years ago, the Franklin Wright Building Conservation Group, mostly people who own Wright houses that I belong to, Falling Water hosted them. And we had a dinner there at Falling Water, and we also had a cocktail party at Kentucky Knob. It was great.
Well, the lady who's second in charge said she'd seen you recently.
At Kentucky Knob?
No, at Falling Water.
Oh, well,
Second or third in charge.
she's a friend of mine. I can't
Yeah.
remember her name. Linda Wagner.
Yes, that's her,
Yes, Linda Wagner. Well, then her sister-in-law has been placed in charge of Kentucky Knob. Susan Wagner.
That's a very interesting place.
Yes. And to see the two of them together gives a real notion that a Wright house is very different in different situations. Very different in different situations. To have the two of them right together is
And we brought back a souvenir from Kentucky now. Once again, they let us wander. We wandered through all the 1,000 acres they had there.
Oh, yeah.
And we found 13 morels. And I said, well, we might as well bring them back. I'm just going to wait. So we brought back morels and morels. First ones we found.
There's a local bar near there that I go to quite occasionally that I call the River Rats Bar, because all the people who go down the river and the river guides and all those people hang out there, and some natives come in there. And they were talking about gathering morels just this past week.
It's been tough. Too cold.
Yeah.
Too cold.
Well, apparently they've been gathering them, but the coldness maybe have stopped the oncoming.
The amount of them. But that was real nice. We had a nice souvenir.
Was just to see the kitchen.
Oh, yeah, sure. Right.
Can't leave it without seeing Bob's kitchen.
And we still have,
Where he's
we can
cooked
go
more
to
owls.
Soyuz too.
What?
Then we can go across the street into the Soyuz.
Oh, right.
Stephen's house.
Are you getting settled in your place?
Jack?
Oh, me?
Are you getting settled in your place? Fuse box, but something on there.
Chairs are not original, but it looks like the table might be designed for the house.
But it's okay to come over now.
I said, there is a dishwasher here. No, there is a real mechanical dishwasher. Where is it? Oh. We hid it, see that? Got rid of the ugly dishwasher. Yeah, so you don't have to have it sitting out, you know. You notice we only have like 2 appliances.
I think when you opened this up, you probably took a dishwasher out of here.
No, there's no
Replaced it.
dishwasher.
There wasn't?
No, we never had a dishwasher any place except not.
Well, that must have been the.
Was this an addition to?
Yeah, this was the. This
That
was
must have been the Fishers, yeah.
This was
Yep.
the carport.
This is
Well,
Roland.
this was
This is
yeah,
Roland's
the
house?
wall came across here, and this was a small kitchen
That was it
here.
right there.
And then he needed a much bigger kitchen and took the carport. What was the carport?
Real fireplace there. That long
So this
grill.
is Roland's house then?
Yes, Roland Fisher.
Right.
Did you know him?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm at Ohio State.
Oh, yeah, okay. And Trudy Fisher. Yeah, she was a talented painter.
They want to know how we opened the cupboard on the left.
Well, the thing is that you have to do like Polly Popinski does, and you take off your shoes and you walk along the counter here.
You see there's a light in the
Well,
plate.
I have to do that to get to my counters too.
So do I.
Ted,
See the
but
light
there's
in
a
the
light
Oh,
there.
yeah.
We should have cut out that door so it just slid through and lift.
Like that desk in Falling Water where the door opens.
And if all of
Right,
you, if
right.
all of you notice the window structure Ted was talking about, well, the window structure in here is exactly the same, except it comes in to make shelves now, where all the things are. It became shelves, the windows, instead of windows.
Well, that's when there can be that kind of incorporation of the system, because wherever I work out a system that works, it ain't easy, for a change in the kind of fenestration. And this was the Keitel's house was a bit like this, but each layer, each section of window moved out, which added complications to that. And I think I did that before I did this house, and I did this without that complication. But this house also is a very strict aesthetic of rectilinear forms. In a sense, it comes from Russian constructivism and from the Dutch De Stijl movement. But of course, it also comes from Frank Lloyd. They may have come from Frank Lloyd Wright, the De Stijl. But this is when it works very nicely.
And that skylight hasn't leaked yet.
Well, there's not any particular reason why it should, except that skylights have a tendency to leak. But one of the things that people call leaking from skylights is that they condense moisture on the inside, and it collects and drips.
Of course, that's never a problem.
Yeah.
This again was an open suburban lot. And although it was bigger than most suburban lots, it had most of the characteristics of a suburban lot, where they consider that it is just flat. And of course, very few things are just flat, and there really is so I tried to take advantage of what little slope there was here. It's higher to the back than it is out here. And then there wasn't particularly anything to see out this way to the west, and use the house itself as a screen from the street, but let light in the living room up high, and then let a lot of light in low into the basement room and make that a livable, usable room. And from the street, extend the wall to make a sharp division for privacy between the rear and the front. And you just drive the car in under, and then the bedroom level up there can take advantage of a long view out this way. But with the parapet, it doesn't pose very much of a privacy problem. I really consider this almost a textbook house about taking an ordinary so-called flat lot, zoning and dividing it into use areas. This big block mass that is the center of the house, there's the central feature of the house, and vertical. It should be noted that every one of my houses has a central core, and the house in some way moves out from that central core in one or more directions. But there's it has a central entity around which the forms and actually the circulation usually is composed around that too. Well, that flat masonry mass there is a good enough shape, but needs relief, and it needs light into the stairwell. So the architectural kind of grill as a vertical mass vertical feature relieves that mass of the block, which would be unnecessarily plain without it. Now, before we go in, can we see anything by going down this path here, because we haven't done this?
Jeff Sawyer is married to Elaine Stephen Sawyer, and it was her parents who built the home.
Even though this was when this was built, the drive wasn't as private as it is now. As a matter of fact, the house was right there.
Sure.
And you can see that this is kind of a privacy wall here. But the living room gets a clear story to free the roof up in there and to take in light from the west. See up over the glass up over the carport here, in the slope of the roof there. So that also the living room is not, that's taking in very brilliant west light in the afternoon. It livens up the living room just by that little bit. And this is the privacy wall with an architectural block decorative band, and that also gives a little added ventilation there when it's a muggy day like today. House, how facing north, that the whole ribbon of glass is compressed. The ceiling is brought down low, a parapet is brought up, and the view into the ravine and into the woods is just a continuous strip all the way across the living room, but on this side there's high glass to the south. And then, because we were using vertical board and batten here, I had to develop a whole system of how we could incorporate ventilation openings, fixed glass, those are, and still keep the system of the board and batten going continuously through. And that wasn't easy. But the way that things have grown up, there really was nothing here. The planning has done very, very well. And these houses have outstanding privacy.
Maybe that tall hedge still.
Yeah, they do.
Anybody know what that hedge is?
Is regular taxes?
Is it taxes?
Looks like it.
Well, can we go around to your house now?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. That this house is made of, and I can't remember, but I don't think there's another house in Rush Creek that uses this vertical board and batten. But you see, we're able to incorporate a door for there's a whole storage area in this end that has a door that's incorporated in the vertical board and batten.
I think Tanzani's side, maybe that new party put in.
I've in a number of places I've done stained glass things. I can't think of any others in Russia.
There are.
Well, that's but
Well, it was clear block to start with.
yes.
And then we added
The
we got the
stained glass.
Kids haven't reached
type of glass.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, because you knew we wanted, you knew we wanted it from the beginning.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't available.
Mine is
Well, there
Yeah, it's almost a custom built. Well, and that's, you know, people sound strange.
There wasn't the variety of some of the makers that come out of this before. There used to be more variety. Yeah. Well, I do want to point out that this is functional, not much bigger than it needs to be to get in here for the circulation upstairs and downstairs. But this shaft of vertical space and the increase over here and the play of the part that's open against the wood cabinets, and then the architectural use of block and the glass and so forth is completely relieves it. And it's nice having the cantilevered ends of those bookshelves come out into the space. And none of this space is any bigger than it has to be, you know. I mean,
Well, we've always enjoyed what was here, all the features. We always enjoyed it to be everything you mentioned. Of course, my children would try to climb up here, but we won't go into that, Ted.
I would let them go.
Well,
The stained glass, the color.
I mean, imagine how contested this would be at the ceiling.
I can barely see the entrance.
oh, fine. Comfy and nice size for you. Yeah, yeah.
was to put it in the publicity forum. I
I
told
and everything. And if it works very well. You know, I mean, but you have to be willing to deal with it.
It works for one person to be in, or maybe even two. We get 3 people, and the dog comes and lays
Oh, in the
Well,
kitchen?
there might, maybe an electric fence would be the thing. But there is a natural progression in all of the cooking operations, that if that is followed, it helps enormously. And the progression is from refrigerator, storage, workspace, sink, and dishwasher, workspace, range, workspace out. It's an absolutely natural progression. And there can be more or less space, but if you follow that, I mean, if the planning follows that, it's a tremendous advantage.
It's like that.
Yeah.
So is ours.
So is ours.
Well, that's the way I
Ted kindly put a folding door in here for me because I told him I didn't want my guests to look at the disaster in the kitchen. But Elaine and Jeff took it off. They may put it back on again. But I appreciate it.
Well, no, I mean, just because the kitchen is right on top of the dining doesn't mean that you have to look at it.
Geraldine, I still have mine up.
But yeah.
Many people want carpet, not hardwood floors, but there's kind of a trend going back towards hardwood floors. If you have hardwood floors, then you have to have good rugs to put on them. And actually, hardwood floors are more expensive than carpeted floors. And so sometimes a hardwood floor could be taken out because you're trying to comb out the budget, you know. But this again I consider to be highly functional, and that is the west light can be blinding in the afternoon, and the house doesn't try to look out to the west here. It can look out that way and it can look out this way, and that gives a really functional wall here. Seat, bookshelf, storage, and so forth, beginning the conversation group and the fireplace at the end. Let's see, shall we go?
You can explain that to us, Tim? How you did that?
You're very bad.
I have to give you credit for that. Yeah, these floors have held up very well. Yeah. We're ready to take up our carpet and bring back the floor.
Was there?
Yeah.
There was. Okay, well then that was something that Rowan and Trudy wanted, that they didn't, yeah.
It was that light color.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a hardwood floor also makes the house noisier. Carpet's a very good dampener for noise with children. But here, the tile floor under the dining and the kitchen is kept within an area that the form is related to the other forms.
Sound jack at the bottom of the for speakers.
Sure.
I got speakers plugged right into it.
Great.
An owl flew over me one time when I was sitting there.
An owl?
We looked at each other. Yes, I was up there in the evening because the mosquitoes don't come up this high. And we looked at each other and passed on.
Yeah.
Well, here goes. Okay.
Charlie. Look at that navy and white. In our backyard.
Neighborhood in harmony with nature.
Neighborhood in harmony with nature.
Okay, go. Go order. Go order.
I'll tell him later. I'm gonna tell him over the phone. I don't think so. I'll call you later if I decide to come back over later. I have more people later. Alright. Alright. Let's do this. Bye.
Alcohol can risk your chances of breast cancer.
I like that kind of because I didn't know, I don't even remember that.
Mom, I think so.
I do.
Mrs. Rubble, can boys get breast cancer? What?
Boys
can get breast cancer, Charlie. It's usually women, right?
Comes over, get real quiet. It comes over. Girl. Alright, go. Hey, come here.
So, Mom, can I drink a lot of alcohol now? Exact. You can still get breast cancer, Charlie.
What happened?
What? Still get breast cancer.
Like you went to sleep there.
I know, that's why we drink a lot of alcohol. Why do you want to get it? Why do you want to get cancer? No, alcohol doesn't give you cancer. No, they said it risks the chance of getting cancer, Charlie. I know, it makes it so you don't. It gives you another chance of not getting it. No, a little bit more chance of infection.
July 17th, 1997. The Stevens house.
Do they have a dog?
Yeah.
They used to. I don't know what happened to it.